Hello everyone, Maria Trusa, the CEO for May Medical Center Urgent Care, and I am here with our show, Reflect and Reset with Maria and Gina, and I am missing my other half again, but she is out for a good cause, and I just want to say, I miss you, Gina, but I'm sure you're probably watching us, and today we have a very exciting show, and a show that I know quite a few people have been waiting for. So I have Dr. Chin with me. Hi, Dr. Chin. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're very excited. I was actually talking to Dr. Chin before the show, and I'm like, there is so much that we could cover because this is such a hot topic. So you are a cannabis, did I say that right? Cannabis physician, and there's not many of them in New York, right? But this is definitely going to be a growing field. And what I love about what you do is something that everybody's sort of starting to talk about, but is a very hot topic. And I want to start by, tell me a little bit about you. Tell me, because when I looked at you, I was saying to her, she looks like she's 20, and she's been in practice for quite a long time. And you started as a physician, as a primary care doctor, right?
Correct. So I started my practice in California. My husband and I started 2001, and we started integrating medical cannabis because California legalized it over 20 years ago.
20 years ago?
20 years ago, 1996. So
Wow.
Just to give you a comparison, New York legalized it about 4 years ago. So you can see the two ends of the spectrum. So that's where I started my medical practice, and I treat children and I treat adults. And I help them integrate medical cannabis safely, if it's indeed indicated. If it's safe, I still follow standard of care. I can still prescribe regular medications, but sometimes patients come to me when they're looking for a more natural approach. Sometimes patients come to me when they failed all other options. They've tried surgery, they've had tremendous pain, and they tried the prescription medications and they simply don't work.
Yeah. So tell us about CBD. Right now, I've been learning about this topic, and as you know, we like to bring topics that a lot of people don't want to talk about, or they're afraid to talk about, but you know, Gina and Maria are not afraid to talk about anything. You know, everything goes here because we have to explore different alternative to the way that we practice medicine, and alternative medicine that could work for individuals, and also that can be more affordable at times. So we are, you know, that's why we're so excited to have you here. But I learned that you, in your body, has CBD. Is that right?
Yes. So our body, our own body, produces our own natural cannabinoid molecules, or cannabis molecules. It's found in the embryo.
Wow.
Yes.
And how does cannabis works with your body? So tell us, you know, when it comes to different brain, you know, depression, anxiety, how does it work physiologically?
So our body makes what's called endocannabinoid molecules. So cannabinoid molecules that are inside of our body naturally. But patients with anxiety, patients with depression, patients with chronic pain, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, they have a deficiency of their own endocannabinoid levels. So when you use an outside source, a plant-based source from the cannabis plant, you're actually replenishing those cannabinoid molecules. And it can help with inflammation, it can help with muscle spasms, it can help calm the nervous system, which is for anxiety and depression. It helps basically reset your sympathetic system. It can also help with seizures. So that is why the plant-based medicine works so well with your own internal cannabinoids.
Well, you know, I was telling you before the show that I had a headache the other day, and I tried this cream made out of CBD, and in 10-15 minutes, my headache was gone. I was like, wow.
That's wonderful.
And the other thing that it helps with stress, and as I was, you know, getting ready to talk to you, and I like to try different things that I'm going to be promoting, so I tried the liquid, and the drop, you know, it's, you put it in water.
Yep.
And I was amazed how relaxed I felt. Not high, because this is not, right? This is, you're not getting high on this.
Correct.
This is the misunderstanding that some people have, right?
So the most important thing to realize is the cannabis plant has two major players. There's CBD, which is what you're talking about, and there's THC. The THC is what makes you high. The THC gives you the euphoria, the sedation, it helps you relax and sleep. The CBD does not have that at all. So you can take the CBD and drive. You can take the CBD and function. I have professors, doctors, lawyers, professionals on CBD, and they can still go to work because it does not give you the side effects of the euphoria, of the sedation. So that is important. So that's what you tried. You tried a CBD-based oil, and the CBD helps calm your nervous system, helps you with the pain and inflammation without the side effects of feeling disoriented.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You know, I've been learning about this, and I'm like, I don't understand why this is not utilized more, why it's not being promoted more, why physicians are not pushing for this, because so many people suffer from anxiety. So many, which is something that I lived, you know, for, and I have talked about this before, for 15 years of my life, you know, but pretty much my 20s and part of my 30s, I was living with anxiety. And my anxiety was brought up by, you know, I had a very dramatic things happened to me when I was a kid, and I was living with that for all that time. And so I'm very sensitive to people that are suffering from anxiety and depression, because it is something that I had to overcome. And I was able to do it with a lot of work, and it was more of, you know, going to therapy. My God, you know, I'm my own therapist now. I joke around, ironically, that one of my therapists, the last therapist that I saw, which I haven't seen anymore, because I really have learned to take care of myself and deal with my own, you know, issues, but I'm a happy person now. And Dr. Reinhardt, that was here at one of my Facebook live, I said to him, I want you to talk about CBD, and he's like, well, I'm no expert. I want you to bring Dr. Chen, and that's, you know, that's why you're here, and it is exciting for me, because hopefully people out there that are listening to this will start being curious. This is something to be curious, because it works. So I want people with depression, this is something that could actually help them out. And I say, if it could help you, and you're not using marijuana, you're using the CBD part of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Then why not? Like, why not? Why is there still so much resistance?
Well, because it's still considered federally illegal.
Okay.
And that's because of our administration still labels it as a Schedule I drug. So because it's still federally illegal, physicians can't comfortably talk about it, because they can't prescribe anything that's federally illegal. It's considered the same schedule of drug as heroin. So it's considered it has no medical use. But research has been out. If you look globally, there's over 20,000 medical citations that talk about the benefits of CBD and THC, CBD especially in anxiety and depression. Now, CBD works on your GABA receptors in the brain, and GABA receptors helps your body to relax, to reset, to reboot. A lot of patients with anxiety and depression have this deficiency. They don't have enough GABA receptors. But when they use things like regular prescription medications, Xanax or Ativan, the benzodiazepines, antidepressants, that can help patients to a certain degree. And sometimes it doesn't help patients. Sometimes there might be side effects. And that's why I encourage patients to talk to their physicians or their healthcare providers about perhaps a plant-based medicine, perhaps supplementing with a CBD that can help with the GABA receptors, help relax the nervous system so you're not in a fight or flight response all the time.
Yeah. Are there side effects to using CBD?
Some patients do feel side effects. I would say about 5% of my patients will have nausea, will have fatigue. They might feel a little bit altered, but those same patients are also sensitive to Advil or Tylenol or sometimes magnesium. So those are the types of patients that are sensitive overall to natural supplementation. So there is something to watch out for.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So with the drug companies, I was thinking, wow, I mean, if this goes, blows up, which I think it is unstoppable right now. I think it's a matter of time. This is going to really affect a lot of the companies, right? The drug companies.
Well, there are drug companies already making CBD extracts. So last summer in June, a company called GW Pharmaceuticals in the UK passed an FDA-approved drug for epilepsy, and it's a CBD extract for children. So there is something out there that is FDA approved. That's a CBD extract, and for children. So you can extrapolate how safe CBD is if they're giving it to young children.
And there's a lot of testimonials, right, about kids that do amazing with the CBD products, right?
Correct. There's a lot of testimonials out there. The wonderful thing about your Facebook Live and the internet, we're able to share information in real time, and we're able to educate patients. But also the important thing to know is that CBD is not a silver bullet. It doesn't fix everything, but it could be something that's outside of the box that you can consider.
Does CBD products, any products, help you with sexual drive?
Yes. So actually women are very sensitive to CBD and THC because of our estrogen levels. So we only need a little bit.
You're hearing that? So whoever asked the question, because somebody was asking the question, actually this is awesome. What I love about what you just said, because I didn't know, but I know, like Gina and I, we're very open on social media, and Gina was explaining that when she went through menopause, her sexual drive is like gone. And it is, but she loves her husband, she is in love with her husband, and she wants to be there for him. And she's looking for a solution, like what, and she's been doing a few things, and we actually posted about this, but to hear that there's a possibility that actually this can help you get sexual drive.
Yes, it does increase sexual drive. It can increase also sensitivity. So there are certain cannabis suppositories that you can use for the vaginal area that will help with dryness, that will help with the thin friability. Like for myself, for premenopause, you have insomnia, you have low sexual drive, anxiety and panic comes up because your hormones are changing and you can't balance the scale as easily anymore. And so CBD is a really nice option to supplement it as a more natural way for women in premenopause and menopause as well.
What is, I know that I'm sure it varies. Somebody is asking about how much does it cost, but so can you give us a little bit of a range of what it will cost people?
Sure. Of course, in the New York market, it's much more expensive because it is newer here, right? We're only a 4-year-old medical cannabis program. On the West Coast, you will find cannabis products much less expensive. So in the range between $30 and $60. In New York, it's probably double that. And then online, you find them in between, anywhere between, I would say, $60 to $150. But the most important thing to know is when you're looking at online products is not just at the cost. You're looking at the back of the label to make sure it's third-party tested. You're making sure that it's free of solvents, heavy metals, pesticides, right? Just like with any natural supplementation, organic, full plant extract, things like that.
So how, if I'm somebody new that has no clue about all the things that you just mentioned, like what would you advise them to do? It's when you're looking at the product, they have to, I'm assuming that they have to tell you what is said,
Correct.
what it's made out of, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Even if they're not federally approved.
Yes.
They have to tell you.
Right, because they're selling it to the public. So there is some checks and balances. You want to make sure that it says third-party testing. And on their website, you want to have the ability to look at their what's called the COA, the Certificate of Analysis. And they'll show it to you. They'll show it to you, and you'll see free of mercury and nickel and lead, free of pesticides. So that's what you're looking for.
The other question I have is a lot of people are afraid to take anything because they feel that if they're drug tested in their jobs, I know, there's a nurse that was saying, I'm afraid because they test me. Can this be shown on the blood work?
If you're taking CBD only, especially if you're purchasing it over the counter and it has 0 THC in it, it will not come out positive.
So it's 0 THC,
yeah, which is what comes up in the blood work. If you have a qualifying condition in New York State, which is chronic pain, Parkinson's, epilepsy, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel, there's a list of qualifying conditions. You can get a medical card from a physician such as myself, and that qualifies you as a medical patient. So if you get tested, you're basically saying, I'm followed by an MD. This is why my test is positive. Now, of course, there are certain employers that will absolutely not allow you to be tested positive. You drive a school bus, if you operate machinery, if you are working in the military, if you work for a federal bank, those types of jobs will not allow you to have any cannabis in your system at all. But I have healthcare providers that come in that get the medical card. I have attorneys, I have professors, I have teachers that get a medical card if they're qualified, and that is enough.
So people in chronic pains, we deal with this here. Unfortunately, there is a huge, people are addicted to chronic pain medicine.
Right.
And we even, at the urgent care, we see this quite often because people are coming, they go to, we call them drug seekers,
Yes.
right? They go to different places trying to get drug for the pain. Now, can this help, can it help? Because they're addicted, so.
Correct.
See what I'm saying?
I look at cannabis as an exit drug. So I actually see a lot of patients that are trying to get off opiates. This can help you with the withdrawals. I work with the pain management specialist. So if they're on Suboxone or if they're in a program, we can work closely with the team and help them wean off the opiates and add in the medical cannabis safely. This medical cannabis program in New York, everything is monitored in the PMP, in the prescription monitoring program. So when the patient goes to pick up the cannabis at the dispensary, it's being tracked. So it's just like when you check in your patients in urgent care, you can check in the PMP to see if they're going to place to place. The same thing with the dispensaries. It's all linked to the health commerce system.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what I also heard that it helps you, it could be used for the skin, right? Creams?
Yes. So a lot of patients use CBD creams post-IPL, post-Fraxel, post-aesthetic, procedures. Sometimes patients will use it after plastic surgery to help heal and decrease inflammation as well.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you see this going?
I see that there is both a adult use market and as well as a medical market. I think the adult use market, it will be regulated like alcohol, where they'll have maybe lower potency cannabis products, where you can use it to relax. If it's a Friday night and you want a glass of wine, you might want some cannabis. And then I also see the medical market where you're using higher doses for your Parkinson's patients, for your chronic pain patients, where you're working with your physician, where you have a set dose, milligrams.
There are many choices out there online. So how do you choose the right CBD products?
So that's where you're looking for reputable companies. You want to make sure that there is a label, that there is testing, and then you can ask for the batch testing. Always, the company should be able to provide any of that information for you. And you look at the back of the label, you'll see it says third-party tested.
And as far as going back to the price, so you think in the future, I'm assuming in California, Colorado, like all those areas, the prices started to be as high as here, but you think, how long did it take for the prices to go lower?
The more products available, the more competition, the prices go lower.
Okay.
That's basically what it is. In New York, it's a very controlled market, so there's not a lot of players here. There's only less than 10 companies. So, so the price is quite high. And of course, when you're in a state that's heavily regulated, it's heavily taxed, then of course the prices will be higher.
Somebody, and this might be an erroneous, statement that I heard, that the government has the rights, the patent on CBD. Or is that, yeah, so somebody, you hear so many things now, that's why it's important to get an expert. I also see that I was at a party on Saturday night, and I was talking to somebody that was on Wall Street, and he actually retired. He decided to leave Wall Street, and they have a farm in Vermont.
Nice.
That they were, going to create a lab there. So how difficult do you know how difficult it is to create a farm and a lab and,
That's a good question. So every state is its own island. Each state has its own law. So when we cross the border into Connecticut and New Jersey, there's different laws and stipulations on who grows, how you can apply for a license to grow and cultivate, and then process it, and then sell it. at the dispensary level. So in New York, it's called vertical integration, and that's as of now. Things might change in a month or two. But vertical integration means that this dispensary has to grow it, so seed to sale, has to grow it, cultivate it, process it, and then bring it to market. Places like California, places like Colorado, Washington, Oregon, they don't necessarily have to grow it. It could be a retail shop. You could be able to sell products as long as you have a retail license, but you're not in charge of actually growing and cultivating the plant and then processing it.
So to sell it, like for you don't have the products in your office.
I don't, just because it's a conflict of interest. As a physician, I'm writing the recommendation. I don't find that I should be selling the products as well. But there are places, there are health centers, there are dispensaries that sell it, and I will recommend patients to go to those places.
Okay. And do you ever recommend patients to go online and buy it online?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
There are definitely places online that you can buy, but remember, the ones that you buy online are from the hemp plant. We didn't talk about that. The hemp plant is the first cousin to the marijuana plant.
Okay.
Yeah, so the hemp plant doesn't have the THC in it. It has less than 0.3%. That's why you could buy it online, because it's just CBD from the hemp. If it's from the marijuana plant, you have to go to a designated dispensary.
Okay, and
it's confusing.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to somebody. I was in Colorado skiing not too long ago, and I was in the jacuzzi talking to quite a few people, and everybody was talking about this. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a different language. Like there was so many different words that I've never heard before.
Yes.
But there is a dispensary in White Plains, right?
Yes, it's actually just down the street.
I know. So there is one place here in White Plains, and I remember going by there. There used to be a hockey uniform store there because my kids used to play hockey, and I remember going by, and I'm like, what the heck is here? Because there's no signs. It is white, and everything is like a secret. And I go there. And we actually knocked and said, what's going on here?
Oh, good.
Yeah, I was curious. I'm like, what do you have here? And that's how I found out that it was a dispensary for, these products.
Yes.
So it's, I've learned a lot from you, I have to say, because I thought that the marijuana plant is the one that you actually abstract the CBD oils from. But you're saying there is a different plant?
No, the dispensaries here in New York get it from the marijuana plant. They get it from, they extract it.
Okay.
When you buy it online, it's from the hemp plant.
The hemp?
Hemp,
Okay.
H-E-M-P. Hemp has been used for clothing, for rope. Hemp is made in concrete for construction. So hemp seeds, you might be familiar with hemp seeds. They have it at Whole Foods and Trader Joe's.
Yes.
You put it on your oatmeal, you put it on your cereal, your yogurt. That's the hemp plant. Hemp you can get CBD from hemp. So when you buy it online, it's from the hemp plant. And that's why they can ship it across state lines.
Got it.
If you want the marijuana plant, right, which does have THC in it, you have to get it at your designated dispensary within your state borders.
And so the CBD oils from the hemp plant helps you with depression, anxiety, and all those things? Or do you need to use the marijuana CBD?
You're thinking. That's good.
Right?
So it really depends on the patient. Some patients do well with both. Some patients don't do well with THC. Some patients don't want THC. So it really depends. The thing with the hemp plant is hemp is a natural phytoextractor. What that means is, think about it like a vacuum cleaner for the environment. It actually sucks up everything in the soil when it's growing naturally. They use hemp plants to clean up areas that have been old factory mills that they want to convert to residential or commercial use. They will plant hemp to clean the soil. So when you're buying hemp CBD, you want to make sure that it doesn't have any heavy metals, it's free from solvents, that there's no pesticides, because naturally that hemp plant just sucks up everything in the soil.
That is
see?
Fascinating.
Yes, so when you're buying the oils, just make sure that you look at the back of the label, just like any other, consumer goods.
That is amazing. So I wanted to go back to all the different type of illnesses, because you even mentioned Crohn's disease. I mean, what else does it help? Because Crohn's disease. I would not have thought of that.
There's a lot of cannabinoid receptors in your gut. So it helps with the flare-ups, it helps with the constant like back and forth between diarrhea and constipation. A lot of my patients that come in are already on biologics. You know, they're on things that
Remicade,
things like that, and they are looking for more things to supplement because the flare-ups are still quite vast. And maybe they're losing a lot of weight, or maybe they just have no social life because they can't leave the house.
Yeah.
So a lot of patients find that when they supplement with cannabis, it helps.
Yeah, the Crohn's disease is a terrible disease. From my other office, they used to treat them with Remicade. Mm-hmm. Can somebody get off Remicade and use the CBD instead?
I've had some patients do that. It depends on the severity of the Crohn's and the ulcerative colitis. Some patients might be able to stretch out the infusions. Maybe they're not getting it every 6 to 8 weeks, or they're getting it every couple months if they're supplementing with the medical cannabis. And some patients get off of it. It really depends how early we can catch the disease too. I mean, I have teenagers. A lot of boys come in at their teenage years diagnosed with irritable bowel disease, and we start them on CBD early. And when you start them on CBD early, maybe they don't need Remicade as early as somebody.
Why do you think so many boys are coming with
stress, anxiety?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is stress, anxiety. I think it's poor diet as well. And then there's a genetic component. Usually patients with irritable bowel, mom and dad, grandma, aunt, you can see a line of it in the family tree.
I mean, we live in a very stressful environment, and I mean, especially kids nowadays, growing up is not easy. I mean, the internet is a powerful tool. Obviously, we're utilizing it to give incredible information that people can get. But at the same time, I think it adds a lot of stress, especially for teenagers. And, they are suffering. I have a little girl that's 11, and she wants a phone. And I'm actually, she's 11, and all her friends have phones. And she wants to be like her friends. And I said, I'm against getting a phone for her. And part of it is, I'm afraid of this exposure that she's going to get, because right now she uses this. Verizon has a phone that 4 people can call her, and she can call those 4 people.
Yes.
So in my mind, she only needs to get in touch with me, her dad, the grandmother, and Gloria, who's like my sister, my babysitter, and that is it. But the stress that these kids have, the phone for me, it's a scary thing to get her.
Right. And then I have an 11-year-old as well, and if she doesn't have the phone, she'll look at her friend's phone. So you have that exposure as well. But the stress, they're growing up, I think, earlier than they need to be.
Yeah, I think so. So it's great that, we have healthier alternatives. Alternatives that don't require a lot of drugs, medication. That I know there's a lot of side effects. I'm sure, like you mentioned, there are some people that get side effects to this, but I know there are people on depression medication that have to check their livers, every so often, right. Because it could affect your liver. There is so many, and even with depression medication, I know that there's certain side effects that are suicidal thoughts, so that is something that with CBD, is it less effects like that?
It depends on the case. Yeah, it depends on the case. Sometimes patients can find that they do have less side effects if they're using CBD and maybe a different antidepressant or a different anti-anxiety medication. But just want to touch on this, since we're both moms. A lot of questions I always get is, well, does that mean teenagers will ask me, or parents will bring in their teenagers, does that mean my teenager can smoke weed, can use cannabis all the time? And my answer is still no. Because when you're a child and when you're a teenager, your brain is still growing and developing. So if you're going to flood your body with outside cannabinoids, with the marijuana plant, it's going to affect your cognition. It's going to affect executive growth, and as well as motivation. When you're an adult, it's a different story because your brain is done developing. When you have chronic problems and diseases, it's different because you have a deficiency. But in a healthy child, in a healthy teenager, you should not be using cannabis.
That is great. Well, it's a great way to end this. I got to tell you, I've enjoyed this show tremendously. You're extremely knowledgeable, and what I like about the way that you speak, it makes it easier to understand, which is something that I know I've spoken with other people, and I have found it difficult. I was very, it was easy to follow you.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you so much, for joining us. And thank you for making a difference, because you are, through this Facebook Live, you are making a difference. There are people out there that are watching us, and there's going to be a lot more people that are going to be watching this. And we want you to know that our mission is your health, but our mission is also to get you information that is valuable to you. So we hope that you found this program very valuable, and that if you like us, make sure that you like us on social media, okay? Dr. Chin, thank you so much.
Thank you for
It
having
was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.